What's going on, guys? My name is Arrow, and in today's video, we're talking about what you do when you get to maps. I'm going to be quick in this video, but I'm going to try to cover a lot of things. I'm talking really basic stuff all the way up to some endgame strategy. So, when you get to maps, the first thing that you should do is reassess your gear. Make sure that you have max res. The difference between the end of the axe and maps is a significant jump in difficulty. So make sure that you have 75 max res. You probably want somewhere between -10 and 0 chaos res. That's going to be tougher to get. Unfortunately, chaos res is becoming more and more important, and it's very tough to get early on. But if you can get some chaos res in your build, one of the best ways to do it is the craft that you acquire pretty early. I believe it's 2 alchemy orbs, and you can put fire and chaos or cold and chaos as a suffix onto your gear. That is probably my favorite way of getting a little bit of extra chaos res into your build. Also, an amethyst flask. You want to have at least 3,000 life usually, unless you have really good defenses, and then make sure that all of your gems are there. Figure out those gem slots. If you don't have your immortal call in yet, find a red slot to get that immortal call in. I find myself being lazy all the time. I'll get to tier 6 or 7 maps and I'm dying and I'm like, what is going on? And I go, I've got 8 gem slots that aren't filled. So this is not just a new player problem. This is a problem for the entirety of your career of playing PoE. What's next? Check your passives. /passives in the chat will tell you which passives you haven't gotten yet. If you chose a bandit to help as opposed to killing them all, you will have one quest that says 0, but the rest should say 1 point. 22 or 24 points is how many you should have when you get to maps. Do this. I have forgotten many times, sometimes until level 90, to finish the Marooned Mariner quest back in Act 1. Just do a check and then maybe double check. Number 3, you've got to figure out how you're going to drop maps. One of the best ways to get maps is Kirak missions, and Kirak will refresh his shop every time you do one of his missions. So if you're struggling to get maps early, the best way to handle that is to run a Kirak mission and then buy with chance orbs and alchemy orbs some early maps to help push that progression. And then as far as actually dropping maps, you want to make sure that you take the proper nodes on the tree. They're going to help you advance. Once you have void stones, those nodes are not nearly as important. So we'll talk about them specifically. So every single time that you complete a map in Path of Exile for the first time, you are going to get a skill point for your Atlas passive tree. These points can be allocated to a million things here. This is obviously super complex, but when you start, you are going to want to get this node as many times as you can early on. 2% chance for one monster in each of your maps to drop an additional connected map. This helps you to get maps that are a higher tier than the one that you have. So if you're running a tier 6 map, the only thing that is connected to it is tier 5s, tier 6s, and tier 7s. So if you have a bunch of these and you can get up to 100% chance pretty easily, if you have a 100% chance, that means every map, one map will drop that is connected to the one you're running. On top of that, and I'm not sure what the Atlas passive tree is going to look like, so this might change after today's patch notes, but shaping the mountains, shaping the skies, and then I'm pretty sure that these are either getting moved or removed. They give you access to finding higher tier maps. So if you have a 100% chance to find a higher tier map, something that would have dropped as a tier 5 will now drop as a tier 6. So when you're starting your tree, you can do something like this to come and get points like this, and you have all of these nodes that are giving you additional chance, and then you can come over onto this side, do the same thing, especially if you can click it. Oops. Sorry, first time. So you take something like this early on, and you can spec out of these later, but getting additional map chance is so important before you have your void stones. Super underrated, and I take a lot of this stuff early on. Again, this may not look like this once patch notes come out, but the point stands. You need to get ways to get higher tier maps and additional maps. And then there are these that dupe map drops. This is super strong too, but getting maps to drop is everything. We will now move on to picking a strategy. This is probably every new and returning player's biggest problem. Once they've picked their build, this is next. How do I make money early on? And the truth is, it's pretty difficult to make money while you're just getting through the Atlas. There are ways to do it. You can get some essences, but they're not going to be very high tier essences until you're like fully invested into it. And you really want to get to tier 16 maps as soon as you possibly can. This is why I recommend this strategy to advance through your maps as quickly as possible. And then once you're in tier 16s, that's when you really want to choose your strategy. But you want to be prepared before you get there, because you're going to start taking points on the tree before you're in tier 16s that head towards and start allocating points of things that you want to farm. So in order to pick a strategy, you have to decide a couple of things. What build am I playing? So am I playing a build that does really, really good boss damage but can't clear? Well, you probably don't want to do Legion, but you probably do want to do something like Metamorph or Essences. And then what do you like doing? Maybe you hate standing around waiting for the expedition things to spawn. You just want really quick stuff. Well, maybe strong boxes are more for you. There are a million ways to make currency, but you have to actually commit to those things in order to really make good money. There's something that gets said a lot. You can make money doing anything. Just pick something and do it. Those things are technically true, but you can't just say, oh, I'm going to do strong boxes. Well, what else are you doing? How are you making those strong boxes more valuable? Are you using sextants? So really committing to whatever you're doing is the best way to make money, not just picking any strategy and half-assing it.
Never half-ass two things. Whole-ass one thing.
So you combine the what is my character good at doing and what do I like to find something that works for you, and then you can figure out how to make good money with that. So a few examples. If you have a build that has really, really good screen clear, and it doesn't have insane boss damage, but it's got really good screen clear, you can kill rares pretty quickly, good AoE, well then something like Legion is going to make you a ton of money. There are lots of guides on there on how to do each individual thing. If you go to maxroll.gg, we have guides on how to make money doing a lot of different strategies and passive trees to go along with it. So definitely check that out if you are interested in finding a specific strategy. So maybe you have huge burst damage. You're a boss killer. You're doing Icicle Miner. Well, then essences are going to be right up your alley. You're going to be able to delete that essence really quickly and move on. If you're playing a build with low single target DPS and you do essences and you stand there for 20 seconds fighting the essence, you could have done something else for those 20 seconds. It's all about currency per hour. How much are you doing per hour? The more you do, the better off you'll be. And then maybe you have like a super fast character. It doesn't have amazing damage, but it's really quick. You could do something like stay in white maps and do beasts and essence farming. That's really strong. There are a million guides out there for that as well. The goal here is not to give you a strategy, it's to help you find one. So figure out what you're good at. And you can even come stop by the stream and say, hey, I'm playing RF Jug, or I'm playing Poisonous Concoction. What league start strategies do you think I should do for that? And then we can have a conversation about that. And, maybe I or we, all of us can learn something about the best strategies for each build, but it really is tailored to you. What do you like to do? What is your character good at? And then you move on from there. The next thing is advancing map tiers. So once you have your Atlas passive tree kind of built out and you're maybe in tier 8 maps, don't focus too hard on completing all the maps in each tier. You really want to start advancing. If your character can handle the next tier of maps, you should already be doing them. If you have a tier 10 and you're in tier 9 maps and you're not having any problems with damage, well then go do the tier 10. And then you do the tier 10, and if you can do that with no problem, do a Kirak mission and maybe they'll drop you a tier 11. Advancing map tiers is the fastest way to get to tier 16s and the fastest way to get you making money. Getting to tier 16s, getting your void stones so you don't need to have your entire tree around dropping you maps is going to be the best way to make you cash early on. Back to the point a little bit of picking a strategy, it is important to find things that synergize, things that work together. If you're going to do, say, delirium mirror farming, you don't want to add necessarily metamorph into it because it doesn't really add anything to the delirium. If you do delirious, you probably want to have something like Legion or Breach that adds a ton of monsters to it, so you can really take advantage of all the quant bonuses that you get from delirium. If you're doing essences, you're probably just trying to speed run your maps. So maybe you could take things that give you additional boss drops to give you a better chance of getting Shaper and Elder Guardian maps. Those are worth a ton on League Start, and you can get in, kill those essences, kill the boss, and get out, and you can go as quickly as possible. And this will give you a little bit of extra income. If you're scaling a bunch of pack size for harvest, that's going to give you really, really good returns for harvest. But you know what else that works for? Expedition. Expedition benefits greatly from pack size. So really finding things that synergize together. and building a tree that is good for those things. Now, you don't have to build your own tree. You can find a creator who has already done the strategy that you like. Again, Maxwell has a ton of these guides, and really being able to, and really making the most out of this Atlas passive tree is going to make you way more currency in the long run. A couple of thoughts on this passive tree. I'm sure this is going to change, but things like item quantity and map modifier effect are super underrated. This, what they call the hat, is all nodes that give you 2% increased effect of modifiers. So there's like, I don't know, 15 on here. So let's just call it 30%. 30% increased effect of modifiers makes your maps way harder, but it also increases quantity, rarity, and pack size. This is effectively a more multiplier for your quant. So if your build can handle it, you should be taking this hat on whatever strategy that you're doing. The Kirak missions look great this league. We've got Harby, we've got Legion, we've got 2C Essence. There's going to be a ton of ways to make currency. So pick the strategy that is best for you, for your build, for your enjoyment, and you are going to do better in the long run. So that's going to be it from me. Thank you for watching. Check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/AER0__. We will be reviewing the patch notes when they are released later today. I'm very excited about that. So give this video a like, a comment, subscribe to the channel down below, and let me know in the comment sections if you have any questions, etc., or just want to give me a little bit of that support for the algorithm. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care.